Nickel is a quality industrial metal and one of the key battery metals we've covered in our Capital 10X interview series. Canada is a fledgling powerhouse for nickel production with a high grade level exploration in the province of Quebec. We're very happy to speak with Dave Patterson, CEO of Quebec Nickel, to share some insights into the region. David, you referred to this project as a unicorn. How do you compare your project in the Fortin to other projects in Canada?
Really, the unicorn was what someone else said to me. That was as a nickel geologist, and he was saying you have something so unique here as to be a unicorn. And so I've played up on that uniqueness. The uniqueness, I guess, is really underlined by hole 29, and I've challenged geologists to find a similar or better hole in the Abitibi for nickel and copper grades. And it came back, I'm just going to take a look at the screen here, 11 meters of 1.44 nickel, 1.49 copper, and almost 3 grams of platinum, palladium, and gold, as well as cobalt. So all of these, again, are payable metals. When you look at a 1% plus for nickel, and when you look at the whole thing in a package and say, convert it to its nickel equivalent, you're looking at multi-percent nickel in a world that is now mining things that are 0.2, 0.3 nickel. This is the exciting thing about it. Again, back to being a unicorn. It's unique, and this hole is unique. No one is able to pick up that challenge that I laid down, and I've done it in a number of meetings with analysts and mining companies. There's no one that can find a drill hole like that in the Abitibi.
How would you compare the nickel tenor you found in the Fortin to the rest of the Abitibi?
So let's talk about the entire Abitibi. We're looking at Abitibi going from Ontario all the way east into Quebec, and it may be about 700 kilometers and maybe 300 kilometers north-south. That's a big area. Within that area, there are a number of what I call nickel occurrences and things that have been put into production in past years. So you're looking at, let's say, a shortage of nickel. The nickel price goes up. Somebody has put one of these into production. They produce it for 3-5 years. Nickel price drops back down. It has not been able to survive those downdrafts in the metal cycle. So this is one of the things that I keep bringing up, is that our nickel is in sulfides. That means it's a class 1 nickel. It compares to all the other ones because we have nickel and sulfides, and the vast majority of them in the Abitibi, not all of them, the vast majority, the majority of the nickel is in a silica. And that is what you get with nickel pig iron, a product that does not work well in batteries, stainless steel, etc. So, when I'm able to say that we are a unicorn, I'm going back to the science, and they've laid it out for me that there are no silicates carrying nickel in the core that we're seeing, that the entire nickel is caught up in pentlandite or pyrrhotite. The grains are and you can see it on our website. I encourage you to do that. You can see the individual grains of pentlandite, of chalcopyrite. And so when something like that is going into the mill, it can be ground, and they use a surfactant, which allows the sulfides to float. This means you're getting a higher quality of nickel concentrate. But going back to your question about what is our nickel tenors. Now, nickel tenors are important only in comparing across, say, a large amount of companies. So you can say our nickel tenor is 9 to 12, and we're looking at some of these others in the Abitibi, and their nickel tenor is in that 3% range. And what nickel tenor says is, what is the theoretical limit of nickel in a 100% sulfide? So you'll see what some of these, the nickel in 100% sulfide, which they haven't found, is 3%. Again, 100% sulfides on our property, given our nickel tenor, that would be somewhere in that 9 to 12. But if you're getting 9 to 12% copper, you're also getting, or sorry, nickel, you're also getting 9% copper, and you're getting elevated cobalt. So all of these metals sort of travel together. And that's why, for us, looking for nickel tenor also gives us a pretty good hint that we have other metals in addition to the nickel.
Can you explain the opportunity of the area you've identified as the Q zone?
To answer the question about the Q zone, I encourage everyone to look at our website at the same time, pull up the presentation, and look for that map that shows the geological formations. And what we have on the map is about a 5 by 5 kilometer area, so 25 square kilometers, unexplored area that has been mapped as what's called a gabbro. And gabbros are mafic, or in some cases they'll carry ultramafic rocks with them. And these are the rocks that carry the nickel, the copper, etc., in the magmatic flows. So what we're looking for is that contact where the country rock, which is our metasediments and volcanics, loaded with sulfur, come in contact with rock that is coming deep from inside the earth down at the mantle, so about 400 or 500 kilometers deep, under incredible pressure and temperature. As these come up to the surface, they start melting all the country rock, and they digest chunks of rock and melt it. But under this pressure and temperature, it breaks the bond with the nickel or the copper and the silicate and replaces that bond with sulfur and iron. And that's how you get the pentlandite. And that brings me back to why we're so interested in the Q zone. The Q zone is this area right at the bottom of the gabbro, and it lights up in geophysics. It is an area that we have been looking at from day one of putting this company together. All things now are starting to play where we can get in there. We need a very cold period of time so that all of the swamp that we have to bring heavy equipment into, all that swamp is frozen. Well, we had, I think, with the wind chill last week, we had minus 43. So minus 43 Celsius or Fahrenheit is cold. And, I think that rivals temperatures on Mars. So this is what we needed to freeze the swamp so we could get in with our equipment. And the reason why this area is all swampy is mafic and ultramafic rocks weather very, very quickly. And so this is what we're looking for. This is why we're looking for it, because these rocks are softer and they've eroded. And this is why this is probably the area of a swamp. But that Q zone, which is the culmination of all the science that we brought to this on the geophysics and the chemistry, all of that work has been pointing towards the Q zone as one of the areas that we have to drill. And we're going to drill that, we're going to drill it this month. The drill will start there, I'm hoping, before the PDAC starts. So that's pretty exciting stuff.
Great insights. Thanks, David.